Guys, this is my over 2-year-old self-sustaining ecosystem, and I'm going to show you how it works and what trials I have to go through. So now we'll start at the bottom here. This is what we call the bottom of the terrarium, or the substrate layer, and the drainage layer here at the bottom. You can see some of my roots and stuff from my different plants in here have slowly worked their way down through there, which that's not ideal. Usually you would want to put a mesh layer between the substrate and the drainage layer, but this being my first ever terrarium, I did not do that. Now onto the substrate layer. This was a mix of reptile soil and some extra cocoa fiber that I used to put on the bottom here. It's nothing too special, but it's perfect for our plants and species in here. Now onto this layer. Now this is where all the fun stuff happens. As you can see, we have charcoal, we have rocks, and plants. If you pay attention, we have this really mossy rock here. I have no clue where any of that moss came from, but it's in there. And we also have a little tiny plant that sprouted. No clue what that is either, but it's also here. If you look closely, you might just see some little tiny dwarf isopods. They're our cleanup crew in this system, and they slowly clean up the terrarium and keep it nice and beautiful looking, and keep away all the mold and all the bad stuff. Now, if we'll go out a bit, you can see back here in the back, this is where all of our moss, our sphagnum moss that I put in there. It was actually dried when I put it in there, but with how wet it keeps in there, it slowly brought the moss back to life, and now it's starting to turn this beautiful green color that I enjoy. Back here is the back of our giant driftwood piece. It's like the centerpiece of our ecosystem. And turn around, there's more moss. There's these two plants that I put in here. They were first here. Oh, and right there you can see one of our dwarf baby isopods. He's a cute little guy. As I was saying, the new plants, they're slowly starting to die. I don't know if it's from overwatering just because of how wet it sits in there, or if it's just they've been in there for over 2 years and it's just their time to go. And now some of the trials and tribulations we've been through in here. There's been a few times where this lid was kept open a bit too long and it completely dried up in there. But as you can see, it's back to being nice and wet. There's also been times when it's too wet and I've had to leave the lid open for a long while. And that's also usually what led into it being dry in there. Let me go back and look at our cute little feller there. And that's just about it for my 2-year ecosystem vivarium. But of course, this wasn't my only project, and I'll give you guys a hint as to what my next video will be about. Now this is the lair of the beast.